Thank you, Speaker, sir. I add my congratulatory remarks to our Fiji team playing in the World Cup for a very bravely fought first match. I deliberately wore my blazer and my tie, but win or lose, I was going to wear my blazer this morning, Mr. Speaker, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Speaker, sir, I rise to present a statement as Minister for the Environment and Climate Change on the release of treated water from the Fukushima Daiichi power plant by Japan, which commenced last month after the report from the International Atomic Energy Agency was released. The IAEA report, Mr. Speaker, sir, affirmed that the discharge of the treated wastewater meets international safety standards. Mr. Speaker, sir, it is incumbent upon us as champions of ocean issues that the needs of our people and of the region, the future generations, are kept in mind in all that we do and say. We do this for ourselves, for each other, and for our future generations, and we are responsible for that. Mr. Speaker, sir, we remain fully alert and conscious of the nuclear legacy, the legacy issues that continue to affect our communities today. During the special Pacific Island Forum Leaders Retreat in February of this year, the forum leaders supported the importance of science and data to guide their decisions. The leaders supported continued comprehensive dialogue with Japan to ensure that what they were doing was in keeping with our thoughts on what would be safe for us in the Pacific and for our future generations. And we wanted Japan to commit to science and researchers until it was safe for them to discharge the treated water. And this they did. At the same time, Mr. Speaker, sir, we acknowledge Japan's standing as an important development partner, both for us bilaterally and also for us as a region. We recognize the position that Japan has taken in consulting with the region before the discharge was started. Some weeks ago, Mr. Speaker, sir, I issued an initial public statement on the environment issue, acknowledging the controversy it has generated in Fiji, the wider Pacific region, and internationally. This controversy is likely to persist for some time, given the complexity of the matter at hand. As many of us are aware, Mr. Speaker, sir, the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant, suffered severe damages due to a tsunami in 2011. And Japan initially announced that its wastewater discharge plans in 2021. It is essential to put the volume of wastewater into perspective. While the quantity involved is substantial, we must consider that the Pacific Ocean covers about 1/5 of the Earth's surface. To illustrate the volume of wastewater that is estimated to be equivalent to filling up 500 Olympic-sized swimming pools. Japan plans to carry out this disposal into the ocean gradually over a period of 30 to 40 years, with each stage closely being scrutinized. I have declared my support for a report by the International Atomic Energy Agency that affirms that the discharge of the wastewater meets international safety standards. Mr. Speaker, sir, it is crucial to clarify that my support is based on the science and the assessments carried out by the independent IAEA, which operates within the United Nations system. The safety standards, Mr. Speaker, sir, mentioned by IAEA are reviewed annually by the UN General Assembly based on estimates by the UN Scientific Committee on Effects of Atomic Radiation, UNSCEAR. The standards also include recommendations from independent, non-government group, the International Commission on Radiological Protection, ICRP. And I would like to draw our attention to a recent article by the BBC, a renowned source known for its quality and accuracy in reporting. And the article states, and I quote, "Scientists largely agree that the impact of the treated wastewater will be negligible," end of quote. That reflects, Mr. Speaker, sir, consensus among experts. The recent IAEA report concluded that the approach, methods, and plan put in place by Japan complies with international safety standards. Mr. Speaker, sir, prior to the release, the wastewater had undergone complex, multi-stage treatment processes, effectively removing most of the radioactive isotopes, including cesium and strontium. This is understood to have significantly mitigated the potential for the wastewater to harm marine life and ecosystems. Furthermore, the release systems and schedule is designed to ensure the wastewater is introduced gradually for further dilution. That reduces the concentration of radioactive materials to levels well below those deemed to be of concern. In fact, Mr. Speaker, sir, test results by the Tokyo Electric Power Company, TEPCO, shows that the treated water contains up to 63% of becquerels or tritium per liter, which falls well below the World Health Organization limit of 10,000 becquerel per liter for drinking water. A becquerel, Mr. Speaker, sir, is a unit of radioactivity. This morning, Mr. Speaker, sir, I want to emphasize that nothing is more important to us, to me, than the safety, security, and prosperity of Fiji and our Pacific Island neighbors. I assure those who oppose my positions that I share the same love they have for this country. As we move forward, Mr. Speaker, sir, I am committed to continuously studying expert analysis for treated wastewater discharge and making submissions to Japan if any problems arise. Our government, in collaboration with the Pacific Island Forum Secretariat, will facilitate ongoing dialogue, Mr. Speaker, sir, with the Japanese government and the IAEA to ensure that we have access to the latest information and updates. It is crucial to acknowledge that there are divergent views and responses within the Pacific Island Forum regarding the treated wastewater discharge. While a majority of the expert panel commissioned by the PIF expressed criticism of certain aspects of the IAEA report, it is essential to note that Professor Tony Hooker, a member of the same panel, dissented from the criticism. In complex matters such as these, Mr. Speaker, sir, unanimity is often elusive, and national leaders must decide which expert opinions to favor. Mr. Speaker, sir, I wish to point out that, unfortunately, the view of the Pacific Island Forum Secretariat, scientific panel is not consistent with the IAEA findings and does not account for the advancements in water treatment technologies that have enabled Japan and other nuclear energy users to effectively remove harmful radioactive elements from the wastewater, addressing many of the initial concerns. The advanced liquid processing system, ALPS short, used by the Fukushima Daiichi plant has been proven effective in removing 62 radioactive elements, leaving only relatively low levels of tritium, which is a radioactive form of hydrogen. Mr. Speaker, sir, tritium is naturally occurring and has been released by other nuclear facilities globally. In its recent report, Mr. Speaker, sir, the IAEA confirmed that the controlled release of treated water from the plant is scientifically acceptable, is a scientifically acceptable option. The IAEA has also acknowledged that the final decision to discharge treated water rests solely with the government of Japan. In my capacity as Prime Minister, Mr. Speaker, sir, I felt that it was imperative that I support the IAEA report that safety standards utilized by Japan is a scientifically acceptable option. It is also imperative, Mr. Speaker, sir, that I ensure that there is continuous dialogue between our nations to ensure that these standards were maintained throughout the process. I felt that it was in our best interest and in the best interest of our shared marine environment to focus on upholding the standards and maintain dialogue rather than stand in direct opposition to a decision which Japan has made. In Fiji, Mr. Speaker, sir, we have witnessed different viewpoints, with a significant number of citizens opposing the wastewater dispersal, as demonstrated by a recent protest in Suva. Worth noting that the peaceful protest marked a significant step forward in our democratic nation. The former Attorney General, Mr. Speaker, sir, one of my most vocal critics, expressed contradictory and confusing views. He initially argued that Japan presented compelling evidence about the safety of their proposal, but then called for Fiji to assess the impact for itself. It's noteworthy that Mr. Said Qayyum's government did not issue a formal protest, note to Japan in 2021 when the wastewater discharge plan was first announced. Similarly, former Prime Minister Bainimarama, Marama, who was portrayed as an international environmentalist, made initial statements in 2021 seeking, and I quote, sincere dialogue, end of quote, and I quote, continuous information sharing, end of quote, with Japan. However, there was no formal protest, and it is essential to clarify that the discharge had not yet occurred at the time. Some critics have attempted to draw a connection between the wastewater discharge and past nuclear weapons testing in the Pacific. This comparison is not grounded on scientific facts. Commercial-type power reactors, such as the one in Fukushima, cannot explode like nuclear bombs, as the fuel is not enriched beyond about 5%, significantly lower than the level required for explosives. I urge those who do not share my position to go thoroughly and study the views of scientists and other experts. My decision to endorse the IAEA report, Mr. Speaker, sir, was made based on my prerogative as Prime Minister. The Pacific Island Forum has emphasized the importance of international consultation, adherence to international law, and independent and verifiable scientific assessments regarding the Fukushima controversy. The Forum has urged Japan to take all necessary measures to prevent transboundary harm to the territory of another state as required by international law. Japan has provided assurances that the discharge will not endanger the lives of Japanese citizens or those of Pacific Island countries. Regarding the Rarotonga South Pacific Nuclear Free Treaty, Mr. Speaker, sir, the Cook Islands Prime Minister and the Pacific Islands Forum Chair, Mr. Mark Brown, has stated that it is up to the government of Japan to demonstrate that they are not dumping radioactive waste. He believes that if the waste remains within safety standards, it will not breach the treaty. He also highlighted that tritium occurs naturally in the oceans. Experts, including Associate Professor Tony Hooker and Dr. Nigel Marks, have emphasized that the proposed release of wastewater poses minimal threats to both environment and human health. Tritium, a byproduct of nuclear energy production, is found naturally in the environment at higher levels than the proposed discharge. Mr. Speaker, the Pacific Islands Forum Chair shared the same views as Fiji with regard to the IAEA report. And the Chair further proposed that a regularized mechanism within the IAEA needs to be established to continue dialogue on the issue, particularly on the provision of updates and reporting during the process of release. The Chair also emphasized the need to respect the sovereignty of each forum member to have their own views on this matter. Furthermore, Mr. Speaker, sir, Japan came to the decision after exhausting all other alternatives. Contrary to opinions that some have proposed, such as storage on land, it should be noted that the cost of storing and managing the increasing volume of treated water waste on land was unviable for Japan. The storage tanks at the Fukushima Daiichi plant are reaching their maximum capacity, and the ongoing maintenance of these tanks requires significant resources. By implementing the slow release plan, which will take up to 30 to 40 years, Mr. Speaker, sir, Japan can redirect resources toward decommissioning the plant and further improving environmental safeguards. Mr. Speaker, sir, it's worth mentioning that other countries with nuclear facilities have successfully employed controlled releases of treated water into the ocean without causing widespread harm. Facilities in the United States and Europe have been releasing treated water for decades in compliance with strict regulations. In each case, these operations, Mr. Speaker, sir, have taken place without harm to marine life and the environment. Mr. Speaker, sir, in respect of the bell that has been sounded and the standing orders, I would like to reiterate that this whole statement, quite a lot of it still to come, based on the concerns that have been raised by the people. And it is my duty to put to rest any of the fears that they may have. That the statement I made is based on science and research, and it's been happening with over 30 nuclear-powered countries in the world who have treated their wastewater and have discharged those into the oceans, and they're falling within the marks, within the boundaries laid down by the agencies that make sure that whatever they discharge is safe. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.